Welcome to your 20-minute podcast with David Brower, where we do our best to give you useful information in 20 minutes or less. Now, here's your host, 5-time Voice Arts Awards nominee, David Brower.
Thanks, Alan. This is David Brower with your 20-minute podcast. Our special guest today from Los Angeles is Joi K Madison. And Joi spent the last couple of years as a clarity coach supporting clients in navigating life transitions, overcoming fear with a focus on relationships and entrepreneurships. She's been working towards her doctoral degree as a clinical psychologist, and prior to that she owned a fitness studio and worked as a personal trainer for over 10 years. So her history, her experience really allows her to get into personal development of the physical, the psychological, and the emotional realms of all kinds of folks. Joi, welcome to the show.
Hi, David. Thanks so much for having me.
You bet. Looking forward to talking to you. So prior to coaching, you owned a fitness studio, worked as a personal trainer for over 10 years. So how did you take that leap? Where did the epiphany come that went, there's more things to do to help people than just this?
Sure, that is a great question. And what I'll say is, again, as I worked as a personal trainer, part of what I would do with my clients early on, first or second session, is we would really talk about their life, specifically what they perceive to be the blocks to reaching their health and fitness goals. Because what I would find is I would often ask the question, what are you eating? What are you doing? Just to get a feel for where we are in terms of where we're going. And often they would say, I know I should be doing this, or I should be doing that, and I should. And so they knew it wasn't for lack of information, right? So I started to understand, okay, if they have the information, something is stopping them from the application, right? And so it was like, well, what do you perceive to be stopping you? And the more I would hear stories from people about what was happening in their lives, I would understand, there aren't enough squats, push-ups, and crunches in the world that I can do with you to support you in moving past this thing. Like for instance, there was one woman who said to me, I make a fresh dessert from scratch every night for my family, right? And I'm thinking, how do you expect to lose weight if you're making a fresh dessert from scratch every night, right?
Yeah, don't tell me you're not sampling it, right?
Exactly. And so what I learned about her family history, right, is something her mother did, is something her grandmother did, and so on and so forth. And so part of this dessert making was her understanding of what it meant to be a good wife and a good mother. Right. And so just telling her not to do that every night just wasn't going to fly, because then what does that mean about how I'm showing up for my family?
Yeah.
Right. And so I understood if I really wanted to support her, I needed to be able to give her the tools she needed to redefine what it meant to show up for her family in a way that wasn't going to sabotage her personal health goals.
Well said.
And that's way beyond, again, squats, crunches, push-ups. That's way beyond that. Right.
Yeah,
and so that's sort of how I decided, let me get into this psychology program. And so I started grad school with that. And then once I was in, after a year, I was like, wait a minute, this feels like home.
Oh, wow.
And so I began that transition of full time and eventually closed my fitness studio. And now I'm enrolled in a doctoral program, and I started my coaching program, and I have my online academy that's focused all about psycho-emotional and relational health is really, so that's kind of how that transition came about.
I have serious goosebumps right now. That's seriously. I mean, to be that in tune with yourself, to be able to ask the right questions, to figure out that you are in tune with another person who really needs more help than you can provide at that particular time in their life, and then for you to take literally a leap of faith, and to get into grad school and feel like home. Oh my gosh, that just doesn't happen every day, right?
It's true. You're right. And coming again from a background in kinesiology and biomechanics and being an athlete my whole life. And that was, opening the studio for me was like a vision I had since I was a child.
Oh, sure.
So as clear as I was when it became time to evolve beyond that, it was a very, very difficult time for me to make that decision, because it almost felt like a little bit of self-betrayal, right? Like I had worked so hard to arrive at this place that I had envisioned for so long, and only to be called out of it after a few years, realizing that it was just a stepping stone to what I believe has always been sort of on my journey, on my path, even if I couldn't see it early on.
And you were a competitive swimmer, right?
Yes, I was, and a water polo player. I played water polo in college.
So when you're that competitive,
mm-hmm.
I mean, you got some drive already, right? So it seems like a natural segue to go from that into owning a fitness studio and being true to your body and helping other people get fit and doing that for 10 years. And then all of a sudden you wake up and you go, more to life. Okay, let's go do that.
Exactly.
Wow.
That's kind of exactly how it happened. Is that more to life moment? Like it was like, okay, this was the vision because this is what I had been exposed to.
Mm-hmm.
But the more I'm living life and seeing what else is possible and what else is available, what I always like to say is I gave myself permission to evolve.
There you go.
Is what happened, and I did have that moment of like, there's more, and if there is more, I get to do more, and I get to be more, and I get to give more, and so that was sort of where it came from.
And you get to encourage people to give themselves their own permission, right?
Sure,
Because you've
yeah,
experienced that, and so because that's got to be a tough thing for most of us. Is okay, like her, right? She's making desserts for her
mhm,
family. She needs to give
mhm,
herself permission to learn how to do that without sabotaging her own health, right?
sure, yeah,
So now you're in a position where you can help people give themselves permission and teach them, coach them, encourage them to find out what that means. That's fascinating.
yeah. I love this work. I do. I really do love this work. What I'm continuing to learn about myself is that I like to teach as I learn.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm constantly offering new courses and new workshops and all kinds of things, asking questions that are empowering. And, I like to say I like to ask myself the hard questions and then live every day in search of the answers, because
There you go.
that is how I sort of intentionally create opportunities to grow. And then again, I always feel like I think everyone's mission is to discover what your gifts are and then look for ways to share them as often as possible is really what I just do every single day.
Could not agree more. And as a part of that, obviously, and I think your competitive swimming and all those kinds of things, the competitiveness, the search for knowledge and skills. I got to go 1.3 seconds faster, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
That really groomed you for being an incredible student, which allows you to become an incredible teacher and coach. I mean, that's a wonderful segue, man.
Absolutely, 100%. I say to people all the time, I mentor children as well, and I say to people all the time, sport is so much more than the game.
Yeah.
And the skills and, the things that you develop certainly are valuable, but beyond the actual game or activity, whatever it is about all the things you mentioned, which is that discipline, that determination, that drive, that fortitude, everything that sort of serves you in other areas of your life beyond the field or the pool or the court or, the playground. It is invaluable, the experience of playing a sport.
And giving your permission to play nicely with others,
Sure, absolutely, and figure out, know what are your strengths,
Right.
and then
Right.
also be able to acknowledge and value the strengths of those around you, right, and not feel like
Right.
it's all on you to do it,
And then when you work one-on-one, you have, I assume, right?
Yeah, I do one-on-one, and then I also have my online courses, which are sort of self-guided.
Okay.
And then I also do groups as well, and I also host live workshops and events. So I sort of have a
Nice.
range of different ways that I approach this work.
So let's start with the one-on-one. So you meet somebody, first and foremost, I guess, how does somebody find you or how do you find them? How does that first meeting happen?
Sure. So it can happen in several ways. A lot of people come to me via social media, right?
Mm-hmm.
I have my Instagram is almost like a personal journal where I share affirmations and ideas and ideologies that I am sort of creating. And so people come to me through that. Also, I speak a lot at different conferences, like mental health conferences and
Nice.
empowerment events and things like that. So oftentimes I'll meet people through the audience. And then referrals, right? Client referrals as well. So those are like the main ways that I get sort of new people coming on board.
Well, and referrals are such a mirror for how
Huge.
well you're doing, right?
Thank you. Yes, for sure.
Love
Huge.
that.
Anytime someone can trust me with their journey and then in turn recommend me to journey with someone else, I feel like I know I'm doing something right.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Goosebumps number 2. That was awesome. So how do you get somebody, again, just in a one-on-one for now, how do you get somebody you're obviously a good listener, you come across very authentic, you've got integrity, but with that said, how do you get somebody when you sit down with them for the first time to be vulnerable enough to allow you to see where they need some help?
Sure. That is also a great question. You hit the nail on the head. You said I'm a good listener. I think the biggest thing that I notice with clients, especially in a one-on-one setting when we get into like a quiet space, is they don't feel heard. They don't feel seen. And so when I can open up a space and allow them, really invite them to release whatever it is that they've been holding on to,
Sure.
what I find is that people are just waiting for that opportunity. They're waiting for it. And so when I create the space for them to do that and feel safe doing that, and they do it just a little bit, right? Because it's just like they do it a little bit, just enough, like I'm comfortable sharing this. And then when they see, like, I'm not judging you, and I'm not in a rush to tell you what's wrong, quote unquote, right? What's wrong with you.
Right.
I'm just here creating space, because ultimately with my coaching and what I tell people all the time is I don't have the answers.
Yeah.
Right? I don't have the answers. I have the questions. You have the answers.
Love that. Oh my God.
And in doing that work, when I allow them to speak and say it out loud and just begin to tell the truth about what they're feeling, they begin to discover, like, okay, this isn't as bad as I thought, and it's not as hard as I thought, and I'm not alone. And just that, without me even offering insight, just that alone is like major breakthroughs, right? And then once that happens, people are like on board, because they're like, I'm ready.
Let's go.
And I feel confident.
The physical surroundings, I would think, when you meet with them the first time one-on-one, have to be important. I mean, physically, the room or wherever you are has to have some kind of comforting energy to it, right, for them to walk in?
Well, okay, so that's interesting. So I have two things. I do see clients as a therapist in my office, and that certainly has a comfortable couch and all the things, right? But then a lot of my clients are virtual, so I see them via online meetings, and they can be wherever they feel comfortable. So if that's at home or wherever that is. And so that also creates the environment, to your point, where they get to choose what feels right for them.
Perfect. Absolutely perfect. So, wow. All right, goosebumps number 3. It's amazing the journey you're on, and the way you help people, first of all, put their toe in the water and then just kind of leap in and let's go. Because it really is about people want to be heard, right? We're going 300 miles an hour. We don't have time to listen, let alone to be heard. I don't have time to have lunch with my kid. I don't know how I'm going to carve out some time with Joy, but I'll put my toe in the water. And then all of a sudden, time becomes an advantage.
Yeah. And it's interesting you're saying that. I remember when I was a trainer, one of the things that I would do at the end of every session is we would stretch. I would pull out my massage table, and we do like some passive stretching, which for most of my clients was their favorite part. And oftentimes during that last, 5 to 10 minutes of our time together, people would say to me, I don't know why I'm telling you this. Or they'll say, they would say, I've never told anyone this, right? And so that's another sort of, when I think back of that time and I think about it as a stepping stone, that was another indicator for me that I was created in a lot of ways to do this. And I've always been making room, making space for people to share their intimate, private thoughts, feelings, experiences.
Wow.
Long before I even knew that was what I was doing, certainly. And so when I made the announcement to my clients and I said, this is the transition I'm in, they were like, oh, totally, for sure, we get it.
Wow.
And I was like, oh, I was prepared for some pushback. I was prepared for people to be angry and I'm going to close my studio. People were like, no, I totally get it. That makes all the sense in the world to me, and I wish you the best.
So they knew it before you, right?
For sure. Although many of them said, well, I came to you because not only was the workout good, but spiritually and emotionally, I also felt nourished. A lot of my clients said that to me, and I was like totally taken aback because I was just being myself, you know?
Wow, what a gift. Well, and to be able to recognize that gift through various mirrors and various locations and various affirmations, and it just keeps you going and going and going, doesn't it?
Yeah, it totally does. It fuels me every time someone says, I needed to hear that today, or thank you for sharing that, or, you're always right on time with your messages. Whenever I get those, those posts and those comments and those messages, I'm always like thankful that I just get to be in alignment with a larger universal message and shift that I believe I just get to be a messenger of at this time.
You are filled with gratitude with a capital G, and it.
Yes, I am. I am.
That is so awesome. So when you do the video stuff, That's one-on-one. Tell me about the group stuff briefly. We've just got a few minutes left, but I want to make sure we touch all the bases here.
Yeah. So, like I said, I have my online community. It's called the Club of Hearts.
Mm-hmm.
It's a subscription-based platform where I just, in addition to video content that has a guest facilitator, we talk about everything from entrepreneurship to personal relationships to just mental health and mindset, all those different things. And I have guest facilitators come on and offer tips and tools, and you get a worksheet, and it's a whole bit.
Nice.
But in addition to that monthly content that I release, there's also live classes that I do. I did one recently called Do Your Work, and it's healing yourself for a healthy relationship.
Oh, wow.
I did another one called The Money Mindset Makeover, which was really to address our relationship with money, because we talk about budgeting and saving and investing and this and that, but we don't always talk about the relationship that we have with money and our thoughts about people who have money and how that may be, sort of out of alignment or counterproductive to our financial goals, or, so things like that. And so I'll host those special classes where we'll hop on. I use a service called Zoom. It's like an online platform.
Love
You're familiar
Zoom.
with that? Yeah.
Yep.
So I use that, and we just gather around online at a specified time. I usually have some sort of PowerPoint presentation prepared, and I'll share my screen, and we'll just chat about whatever the topic is.
Love it.
And dive deep into it. And then I offer the playback. So anybody who wasn't able to make it live, or even if you were, I post the playback in the community so people can always watch and comment, and I ask questions. So it's just a way to keep people in the community around the material.
And to have the opportunity to come back, because you know, when you're watching, you're listening, you're talking, you're communicating, you're sharing, you're so engrossed in that part of the process, you go, oh, wait a minute, I learned something. What was that?
Right, exactly. And then you can go back and take notes and
that's cool. One of the great quotes that you have on your website, I love this: the moment your excuses become inexcusable, you give your mind permission to shift from impossible to inevitable. That is frickin' brilliant, man. I love that.
Thank you.
Wow.
Yeah, that just comes from, again, like just giving it what I say all the time is what I do is I facilitate healing through curiosity and discipline.
There you go.
Right. Again, so you just ask questions. When you have a thought, when you have a feeling, get curious about it.
Yeah.
Challenge yourself. Maybe even dispute. What is this coming from? An old belief? Is this coming from a painful experience? Am I viewing this through a lens that may not be serving me? And if you get curious about those thoughts and feelings, and then you decide, you know what, I don't want this.
Yeah.
This isn't in alignment with what I'm creating for my life. Then you can begin to create a plan and be disciplined and diligent towards sticking to that plan, to really just only choose the things, only say yes to the things that are moving you closer to the life you see for yourself.
Wow. That is so cool. And you help people see that life. That's what I like about it is you know how to ask the right questions. You know how to listen so that you encourage them and empower them to come back with the answers. And then you go, oh, that raises more questions. So let's talk about that. And it's just a wonderful, maybe exercise isn't the right word, but it sure feels like a wonderful experience exercise kind of thing.
Sure. Yeah. And it's just encouraging them, to your point, to and beyond their time with me, right? Because they'll coach with me for 3 months, 6 months, however long.
Right.
And even if they're part of my community online where we're constantly engaging, what I'm wanting to do when I work with my clients is remind them that this is how you do life beyond the 1 hour that we're together every week or however frequently. This is how you do life. This is how you get to co-create your life. You get to do that. And it's just a matter of awareness, right? We talk about mindfulness, but it's not just for the 20 minutes that you sit down and do your mindfulness meditation. It's literally how you live your life.
Love it.
And so modeling that.
Go to Joi, that's Joi K Madison, Madison.com. Joi, Joi Madison.com. And you will get some aha moments. You'll get some epiphanies. You'll learn about the Club of Hearts and clarity. And it's just a wonderful site. And you have a gift, my friend. Congratulations on
thank you so much,
who
David.
you are and where you're going. It's just, goosebumps number 4. That's the time to say goodbye.
There it is.
Thanks, Joi.
Thank you so much.
Listen to your 20-minute podcast with David Brower on the go. Downloads are available on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, any podcast app, and on our website at davidbrowervo.com/your20minute podcast. Until next time, thank you for listening.